Listen, what you have here, this is just Republicans continuing to attack people in this country. They ain't pro-life. They don't care about human beings. They just want to say, oh, we're tough on crime. This does nothing but hurt the poor people in Georgia.
Yeah, it accomplishes absolutely nothing. And any negative trend just already negatively affects those who are already behind. And in the cash bail world, you have a situation where for a long, long time, you've had to deal with the notion of two people who are charged with the same thing having not only different outcomes because they respond to the pressure of being in jail or not being in jail, but they're treated differently from a cash bail standpoint. And so one brother who has the money, one person who has the money to do what they need to do, they get out, they get on the street, they get an attorney, they have the leverage, theoretically speaking, from a resource standpoint to affect a better outcome. And then the person that doesn't, who's more often than not, or more likely to be a person of color and perhaps a black person, is in jail, has a much more difficult time getting out of jail, and because of that has fewer in the range of options. And so at a time where in many jurisdictions they've shown how getting rid of the cash bail system, modifying it or minimizing it is actually effective as a political ploy, when you just lock them up. You don't have to be right. You don't have to be equitable. If you just lock them up, people still run for office on that. And so, therefore, in a situation where someone's now in jail longer than they would be, in Georgia, and particularly, we've had deaths of people that have been infested by lice and other things like that. They're in conditions that they wouldn't be otherwise. And by the way, we're paying for it as if they're actually getting something that makes them better off. So it's actually bad all around. It's a political ploy, and we'll have to see where it goes. Hopefully, we can have a response to this, but that response is going to have to do with voting, being aware, and being reminded of the urgency that situations like this give us for this election.
Mustafa, these folks, this is what they do. They are heartless. And Adam Sir with The Atlantic, when he laid out about their cruelty. He said the cruelty is the point.
Yeah, exactly. It's about penalizing the poor. That's exactly what it's about. We see it through numerous pieces of legislation that they've introduced and then passed on the state level there in Georgia and a number of other locations. Most folks don't actually probably realize that every 3 seconds in America, somebody's arrested. We got 10.5 million folks who are arrested every year in our country. The average for bail is about $10,000. So if you are somebody who's working class, if you are somebody who is dealing with a lower income situation and you have to face this, then you know that more than likely you're going to not have the resources that are necessary to be able to be out while folks are then going to move forward on trying to, move your case forward. It is all about penalizing the poor. It is about demonizing individuals who haven't been blessed with wealth, and then using them as a scapegoat for many of these political ads and campaigns that, unfortunately, the Republican Party continues to embrace. So for those who care about what's happening, let me just say this real quickly, Roland. People continue to talk about they don't want to vote for Biden or other folks on the presidential ticket. This is a great example of when you vote, you can actually make real change happen in your respective states. So if you want to make sure that this no longer moves forward, that people actually have the opportunity to be free and to be able to plead their case, then you should vote. You should vote on that state level and that county level to make sure that you have the right things in place.
Randy?
It shows that they have created a system where they don't want people to be reformed. They don't want people to change or do better or have a chance in life. They're creating a system to imprison mainly Black people. Let's just keep it frank. And so they don't want us out. And so how can they make it more difficult for us to get out? How can they make it more difficult to penalize people who do not have the money to get out? And so it's just very obvious that there is no concern for us. They keep talking about how the prison system is another form of just modern day slavery, and it seems that way. So they don't want to give us options to get out, because this solves nothing. It only hurts people, and that's obviously what they want.
Well, that's what they want, and that's what their goal it constantly is. And so that's exactly what's happening here. So there's no other way about it. They want to demonize the poor, and they're like, screw y'all. You got nobody advocating for y'all, so we can just go ahead and do it.
Yeah, somebody's killing poor people, and it's going on. Yeah.
When COVID happened, poor people were dying at a rate already of 800 people a day. Before COVID, if you went to a funeral every single day, it would take you 600 years to attend all the funerals of the people who will die from the ravages of policy violence, poverty, and low wages in America in just 1 year. It would take you 2 years and 19 days to go to all of the funerals of the people that will die today, and oftentimes silence. Nobody talks about this political genocide, but we are determined today to remember their death and be a resurrection of voting power and voice power like never before.
Economic justice and saving this democracy are deeply connected. We, as a nation, must listen to the demands of the poor, who are pushing and will continue to push political candidates and elected leaders to lift from the bottom so that everybody can rise.
Take back the money, take back the money, take back the money, take back the money.
We are the poor, the marginalized, and the underpaid. And we are taking one step forward to say that everybody has a right to live.
Poverty is not the fault of those who are impoverished. It is caused by those who make the policy.
There are over 135 million poor and low-wage, low-income people in this nation.
The biggest block of potential voters by far is low-income, low-wage voters.
I can't afford medicine. Sometimes I have to skip because of the cost.
The farm worker community is tired of the violence imposed upon us by greed, exclusion, and denial of basic human rights.
Those folk that represented by that casket, poor and low-wage workers who are the most moral people in this country because they go to work every day believing, even though going to work is hazardous to their health.
I'm tired of working 70 to 80 hours a week and still not have money for the necessity of bills. I'm tired of getting sick and not being able to go see the doctor. Having to make a choice to pay between rent or the light bill or food or clothes.
You cannot claim to care about families and a culture of life and then do everything in your power to rob people of equal access to resources and to force them to live in poverty.
Leadership of both parties have waged war on poor people and low-wage workers.
And this government has treated people experiencing poverty, including their military families, with disdainful, deliberate, malicious neglect.
So the truth is that my son died from poverty.
We refuse to accept poverty as the fourth leading cause of death.
The fourth leading cause of death in this, the richest country in the world.
We march today for our children and the generations to come.
And we need to do it with the loudest voices possible, the biggest actions possible.
We will voice our demands and register our vote.
When we stand up and when we stand together, things change.
There is the electorate that is, and then there is the electorate that should be.
34 million eligible poor and low-income voters did not vote in 2016. If just 20% of those voters in swing states were mobilized around an agenda, they could change the political outcome of every election. So we're launching the most massive voter mobilization and turnout campaign in history of poor and low-wage voters, allies, and religious leaders.
People are dying, but we know it doesn't have to be this way. And so we are calling on everyone to join us in this Poor People's Campaign, a national call for more revival.
We are here, we will be seen, we will be heard, and our power will be felt. We don't need to be an insurrection. We are a resurrection that will be felt across this country. Are you ready? Ready, ready, ready. We are a resurrection, and we are ready.